Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream.
Welcome, everybody. Hi.
Welcome.
Here we are broadcasting live from the beach.
The beautiful beach.
We
Use
wish.
your imagination. Exactly.
I want to say welcome, everybody, for the annual Beachbound Book Bash. That isn't really annual because we couldn't do it last year because of COVID. And we couldn't do it live this year because of COVID. But we're here doing it virtually. And I just really quickly want to introduce to you my fabulous co-host. I feel like we're going back in time just a little bit, LaFern, because LaFern Cusack and I used to co-host public affairs show on radio stations. That's kind of complicated. But hi, LaFern, how you doing?
Fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on and having this opportunity. It's great to be back on air with you.
I know. It's fun, isn't it?
It is.
I'm excited.
And we have a great lineup. It's amazing. I'm looking forward to the stories.
Exactly. We have many authors and writers who are going to be reading from us. Now, they might be reading from a book that's already published. It could be a work in progress. It could be poetry. It could be flash fiction. We kind of said, hey, do your thing, and have fun. So this is kind of a literary tea, because that's what we would do when we had this in person, is we would have a literary tea. And the whole idea was getting ready for the beach or going to your travel, your holiday destination. Because you always have your travel books with you for the summer, right? Yes,
of course.
Yeah. So what are you reading, may I ask, LaFern, this summer?
Darling, I'm starting off with a wonderful book from George Galdorissi. How about that?
That's perfect. What a beautiful segue. And here we are with our very first reader for the Beachbound Book Bash. It's Gerald Galdorissi. Now, he is a career naval aviator. He is a multiple award-winning and New York Times best-selling author. He's written 15 books and probably counting at this point. Hi, George. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, well, thank you all for having me, and I'm really excited about the Beachbound Book Bash. We're living in the marine layer here in San Diego, so anything that speaks of the beach is good for us. I appreciate the chance to read. I've picked my latest book, my novel that LaFern was kind enough to mention, Fire and Ice. And just by way of background, it's a thriller focused on the political military tensions created by a modern-day Russia at its vindictive worst. And the main characters, Rick Holden and Laura Peters, find themselves thrown together by their respective agencies, the CIA and the Department of Defense, and their mission is to rescue an American captured by Putin's henchmen. So in a 90,000-page book, it's hard to decide what to read. So I wanted to read how I introduce Laura Peters. And here's how I introduced the one of the two primary protagonists.
Perfect.
Lieutenant Laura Peters sat at her desk outside of the U.S. Navy Rear Admiral Ruth Morton's office, multitasking as she usually did. As aide to the senior intelligence officer of the U.S. only cell attached to the Supreme Commander Europe's staff, Peters had to run hard to fulfill a myriad of duties. Peters was accustomed to running hard, and she had done so in her previous assignments, but SACEUR was a bigger stage and one that challenged her. And like most military officers, she had a strong desire to serve her nation and had the additional motivation of being the only child of a Navy Chief Petty Officer father who had aspired to join the officer ranks. But that goal had eluded him, and he had encouraged his daughter to apply for a Navy ROTC scholarship. She won one of those slots and excelled academically and athletically at the University of Virginia. When it came time to select a career field, she did her due diligence and saw that while the U.S. Navy had made some strides, it had not yet fully accepted women as equal partners commanding ships and aircraft squadrons. Therefore, she had selected the intelligence field upon graduation, correctly surmising that it would provide a more level professional playing field and afford her an opportunity to prove herself. And she distinguished herself at a number of tours and now found herself at SACEUR. When the Navy Typically, the Navy balked at sending its officers and sailors on successive tours outside the continental United States, but it made exceptions for officers who were single. It was all about the math. It cost much more to move and then house families on overseas assignments than it did for single people. And in her quiet moments, Peters did have to admit that she applied a significant bit of charm on her detailing officer at the Navy's Personnel Command in order to seal this deal. So I thought it'd be worth explaining why this passage. So many military thrillers have almost exclusively male protagonists. In Fire and Ice, as well as in my two earlier Rick Holden thrillers, The Coronado Conspiracy and For Duty and Honor, I purposely used strong female protagonists. And you'll also note there was no police blotter information, no information about her height, weight, hair color, eye color, any of those attributes, because none of that helps you get to know and care about the character. And this is something for you beginning and emerging writers to remember. So finally, wrapping up, not to step on the time for those who follow me, other than writing, I like nothing more than connecting with readers. And you can follow me on my website. Simply Google my name, George Galdorissi. It'll pull that up. And I'd really like to recommend the writing tips that I put up there, which offer useful advice for all writers, from beginning writers to future New York Times best-selling writers. Google my name, it'll pop up, and it's been a pleasure being here. Thank you all.
Oh, George, that was fabulous. And I got to say thank you for writing strong female characters and not talking about physical features. That is so spot on. I appreciate you doing that.
And being a former junior ROTC, I really appreciate that. I love that program, and all the strong things that we've learned as women and men in that organization.
There you go.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Thank you, George. We'll see you later, okay?
Hey, thank you all. Bye now.
All right.
Thanks, George.
All right, LaFern, would you like to introduce our next reader?
Yes. Laila Tarraf. Laila Tarraf. She is a senior human resource executive and the author of Strong Like Water: How I Find the Courage to Lead with Love in Business and in Life, a book that offers insights and inspiration for finding a natural balance and leading as a whole person. And this is something I try to do every day of my life, and I do find challenges. So I'm so glad you're here to talk about your book.
Thank you very much, both of you. I'm happy to be here. Yes, Strong Like Water is one part memoir, one part leadership guide, and even one part psychological probe. And it chronicles a period in my life where I had three big losses, starting with my husband, then my father, my mother, and I was in my first year of an executive role trying to raise a 3-year-old. And as we all know, after a year of quarantine, moments of adversity really give us opportunities for growth, and they can be real teaching moments. And so I'm going to read you a little excerpt of when I first realized something was amiss with my husband. And here we go.
Fantastic.
How's it going with Daniel these days? My girlfriend Karen asked gently as she leaned into me. Her son Rocky was born on the day that I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter Nadia, which created a special bond between us. I hadn't really talked about our separation very much with my friends, only because I was still in denial myself. I had only told my mother the week earlier. Given this, I didn't fully express the fear that was rising inside of me as a result of Daniel's missed pickup. Besides, I was also annoyed. How could he be so irresponsible? Okay, I guess, I answered. I tried to act nonplussed, but denying the churn that had been swirling in my stomach. The whole thing is just so weird. Ever since he moved out 2 months ago, communication has been very erratic. And today he was supposed to pick up Nadia from school and just never showed up. Didn't even call. That's just not like him, not when it comes to Nadia. I'm worried. My girlfriends tried to reassure me that everything was all right, that Daniel could be a little flaky, and that this wasn't completely out of character for him. I wanted to believe them, so I pushed down my worry while we finished dinner. As I drove home that evening, however, a pang of fear pierced through the thin veneer I had managed to drape over my growing trepidation. I couldn't get past the fact that Daniel had never missed showing up for Nadia, no matter what. I tried phoning him several times, but only got his voicemail. My mounting concern soon gave way to a low-grade feeling of uneasiness that I could not shake. I called and left a message. Hey, are you there? I'm worried. I haven't heard from you, and you were supposed to pick up Nadia. Please call me. Let me know you're all right. I spent the majority of the next day at my first board meeting. Compared to the slides we looked at all day with financial statements and graphs, mine looked charming or childish, depending on your perspective. I decided to use the hand-drawn illustrations from our retail operating philosophy because they captured the spirit of the transformational work that we were doing. Chatting with one of the board members after the meeting, I noticed I had no missed calls from Daniel. And as I got into my car late that afternoon, I tried him again, but got no answer. On Thursday, I tried phoning him again, but this time his voicemail box was full. A pang of fear ran through me, but I refused to think the worst. Denial, denial, denial. Next to distraction, it was one of my most powerful tools I had in my arsenal. Friday came and I tried him again, but the mailbox was still full. My fear and anxiety began to bubble up. I started to panic, so I phoned his sister. Stephanie, have you heard from Daniel? I'm worried. I haven't heard from him in a few days and his mailbox is full. Can you please let me know when you reach him? She promised she would, but I didn't hear back from her. I told myself once again that Daniel was no longer my problem. I had alerted his family about my concern. What more could I do? Sunday, Nadia and I went to a birthday party for the 2-year-old daughter of a close friend at work. Walking with a juice box in one hand and a small paper plate with a slice of birthday cake in the other, I ushered her to the kids' table and placed the treats in front of her. I rejoined a group of parents a few feet away who were trying to have a conversation in between tending to their sugar-infused, hopped-up toddlers. How's Daniel? One friend asked, and then another, and another still. I struggled to find the right level of response for the question I had been obsessing all week. I wanted to say, I have no idea and I'm sick with worry, as I haven't heard from him in almost a week. But I kept it light, as was my style, more as a way to keep lying to myself that everything was all right than anything else. Having to answer questions about Daniel's whereabouts as I sat amongst intact families heightened my anxiety to the point where all I could hear was the beating of my heart in my ears with muffled voices distant and garbled in the background. I didn't know what to do anymore. Daniel had left us, so there was a part of me that was trying to emotionally disconnect from him and get used to the idea that we were heading towards a divorce. At the same time, our separation had come on so suddenly and it was so new, so fresh, that my feelings for him were all tangled up inside. I was torn between trying to push him out of my consciousness so I could start moving on with my life and feeling like I needed to take care of him in the way I had been doing since first meeting him 9 years earlier. So there it is. That's the excerpt.
Wow.
And goes on from there.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And Laila was a guest recently on the Books That Make You show, and we had such a great conversation because, yeah, there's so much heart, emotion, and everything in your book. Bravo, and thank you for writing it. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's a labor of love, that's for sure.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your story. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people in their challenges and journey as well.
Thank you, Laverne.
Can you give us your website and let people know if you got anything going on, where to find you, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. My book's been out for 2 months almost now. You can find me on my website, lailatarraf.com, and social media everywhere.
I love it. Laila, thank you. You have a great rest of your day, okay?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, Laverne, I got something really exciting that I need to talk about. We
Please.
have a big giveaway that is happening at the very, very end of the Beachbound Book Bash. And if you go to the Books That Make You website, that's booksthatmakeyou.com, booksthatmakeyou.com, and you go to where it says win, you can still enter to win. Now, here's the cool thing. It not only includes a big stack of books, because that's what you need to take to the beach, right?
Right.
But there's a Kate Spade bookish tote.
Oh my goodness.
Right. There's also a Guthrie Company vegan leather, I should say, mat.
Very nice. And I cannot apply, so guys need to rush there and check it out, right?
Absolutely. So again, that's really easy. Just go to the website, booksthatmakeyou.com. And I think we've got links on our Facebook. So right now, the cool thing is a lot of people are watching us on Facebook, or they might be on YouTube. We're streaming on 2 Facebook feeds, Black Chateau and Books That Make You. But we've got this posted everywhere. So don't forget to enter. We're going to announce the winner at the very end of the BBBB today. And another fun thing that we're doing, I think it's a good time to bring this up, is
you are just rocking it out, Desiree. You're rocking it out.
I do my best, LaFern. Thank you. It's easy to rock it out when you have LaFern Cusack at your side. We have T.L. Beckett. Now, he's one of our readers today. He's standing by. He'll be up in a little bit. His debut novel is Good Lookin. And we've also got Debbie Monteggia. I think we're going to bring in Debbie Monteggia next. Oh. So we've got these 2 books among everybody else's books. But I'm pulling these up especially because we're doing a fun thing. It's Guess the Page Number contest. And all you have to do is guess how many pages are written. Now, I know they have pages sometimes front matter. That's not marked. So guess the number of pages. And you enter by emailing bbbbbcontest@gmail.com. And so if you enter that into the email, guess Debbie Monteggia's Tears of Change, as well as you got 2 chances to win. Good Lookin' by T.L. Beckett. And what you could win is a surprise bundle of books. Yes, it's going to be like one of those box openings where you open something up and you don't know what you get. Well, you're going to get some books, but we're not going to tell you.
Fantastic.
So, okay. So just remember, we got lots of fun contests going on. We got the big giveaway. You can enter on the website. Just go to the win page at booksthatmakeyou.com. And if you want to email us and do the page count, you got to guess for Tears of Change and you got to guess for Good Lookin'. I'll give you everybody kind of there you go. Kind of see how many pages. Debbie's is not quite that long. And again, bbbcontest@gmail.com. And that's how you enter to win. And right now we are going to bring in Debbie Monteggia. Here she comes. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, how are you?
We're good. We're good. It's fabulous to see you.
Well, I'm ready for the beach. I'm just missing the water.
I see that. I love the hats. You got the ambiance going on there.
Yeah. Well, it's 108 here today, so I thought I'll deck out in some beachwear for the event.
I love it. I love it. And you are a poet. Your book is Tears of Change, like we just said, and it's a book of poetry. Do you want to tell everybody just a little bit about it before we start?
Well, there's about 18 poems in there, and they're poems that I've composed over the past several years, kind of honoring everyday life. So there's poems about children, there's poems about friends, there's poems about sadness, and just all different genres of writing in there. So I'll share a couple of them with you today. I think today I'll celebrate honoring friendship when I do read a few of the poems.
I love that.
All right, take it away, Debbie.
Okay, so as I said, I'm going to talk about friendship. A couple of my poems in here are on friendship. And the first one I'll read is obviously called Friendship. And I precede it with a quote from Samuel Johnson that I just love because he says, "Friendship is the single greatest unconditional gift in the world." So here we go. There are many fond memories I will always treasure. A true friendship is one you simply can't measure. It comes from a place deep down inside, a place that harbors honesty, dignity, and pride. A place where we laughed, a place where we cried, a place where there is no room for lies. A place where we shared the good and the bad, a place to reflect on the happiness we had. A place to go back to when feeling a bit down, a place where there's peace when there's chaos around. A place to embrace when life challenges you a bit, a place to be secure and endure and not quit. A place to remember all the talks that we shared, a place to hold dear because I knew someone cared. A place where there's feelings, emotions, and sincerity. A place where I hope we will never lose clarity. A place in my heart that is special, you see, because this is the friendship you have given to me. So I wrote that for a dear friend that moved out of state and years ago, and I just couldn't find a card that encompassed what I wanted to say. So I wrote the poem for her.
Wonderful.
That's lovely. That is so, yes.
You liked?
Very much so.
Okay. So the next one I'm going to read is called The Mirror of Faith. It's about friendship too, but it's about friendship within ourselves, if that makes sense. So I'll read it for you. The Mirror of Faith. Look into your eyes, the window to your soul. Peer deep inside, an old friend will unfold. This friend has been waiting a long time to be found. This is your best companion and always been around. Look into your eyes, the window to your soul. Feel those hidden feelings that have never been told. Whether it be joy or whether it be pain, let the feelings surface. The truth will always sustain. Look into your eyes, the window to your soul. The abundance of those tears will surely turn to gold. If those tears are truly all from hurt and pain, just remember through the struggle, there is much to gain. Look into your eyes, the window to your soul. See the transfer of life, a cleansing of the old. This friend has been waiting for you to finally see the treasures of your heart. They are your destiny. Look into your eyes, the window to your soul. Trust in yourself to reach your ultimate goal. It's God's way of showing your journey's destiny. The window now opens. Your soul is set free.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I like the way Debbie's book, I mean, we had her on the Books That Make You show too, but it literally is this progression. The poems within it have so much heart and soul in them, and they literally take you through all of the changes that she went through. And it's a beautiful book. It makes a great book to have at the, next to your bedside. And it's a beautiful summer read.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking, like, I used to do poetry and I stopped. What would you say to encourage others to release their poetry?
Well, it definitely is put you out there in a more vulnerable state. I would say just have the courage to just do it. It took me a long time to put this out. And even when I started the process, I was hesitant and I was a little, not very confident, but I said, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to put it out. And I'm so happy I did, because I'm getting such strong feedback with it. And people are really enjoying it, and they're telling me, they're learning a lot from it, and happy to hear a lot of the things that I write about. They feel the same way, too, with many things. So it's inspiring. So I only hope people pick it up. And like Desiree said, it is a table book. It's a book you can read, from the front to back, and I kind of tell my whole story through anxiety and everything, and I move through all my poems. Or you can just pick it up and read one poem. And
yeah. Yes. What I love too is when you wrote this book, a lot of it was, going through, you had anxiety and you were dealing with some of your own things, but by going through it, by writing it down, and I know you're big on journaling too, it helped you get past it. It was almost like you were going through your own therapeutic sessions by being creative.
Absolutely. It was very cathartic. It was, I like to say, I see myself in it, right? Because it really did help me through the healing process of anxiety. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to put it out there too. I know, gosh, with the advent of COVID and all that, there's a lot of people going through stuff right now, and a lot of anxiety, and you can get through it. And I got through mine by doing a lot of journaling, and that's where I discovered my gift to write. I started journaling, and then I started writing poetry. So it was kind of a gift I didn't know I had. So I thought I'd share it with the world and put a book out.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. We do have just a minute left. If you want, I see behind you yeah. Want to tell everybody what that is really quick? So this is so cool.
Let me grab it. So I have a website. It's called tearsofchangepoetry.com. And on that site, you can find a little bit more about me if you want. And then I also have what are called poem overlays. I have 4 of my poems. I didn't read them. Well, Friendship is actually one of them. And what you would do is you would email me a picture, one of your favorite pictures of your kids. This is a child's world. And I will overlay the poem over the top of your picture. So it creates a really unique gift for either a friend, because it's the friendship poem I wrote. You could send that friendship poem to a friend with a picture, and then you frame it. So I don't frame them, but I do all the, I do the poster and the overlay and everything. And then you can pick a frame out of your choice.
Oh, that's lovely. Such a great gift idea. Oh my God, that's something to get mom and sisters and daughters, everybody. Husbands.
Father's Day is coming up too, right?
Father's Day is coming up. Yep. So you can check out my website, tearsofchangepoetry.com, and you can find out more about it on there.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Debbie.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And don't forget, Debbie Monteggia is one of the book number contests that we're doing. You email your guess on the number of pages that are in her book to bbbbcontest@gmail.com. We just created that email account today, LaFern. We were like, we need an easy one to remember. Otherwise, it's so hard.
Yes.
And we also have Good Lookin by T.L. Beckett, I should say. And TL will be joining us a little later on. But right now, whose turn is it? I think we got a little bit askew. Do you want to introduce Mr. Scott Ryan?
Mr. Scott Ryan is an author, publisher, television historian who captures the truth of what really happened. His latest book, Moonlighting, an Oral History, is the never-before told inside story behind the making of the pioneer TV series. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you for having me. I was just out at the beach and I just ran in real quick here to do this.
I love your commitment to books.
This is how I write as well. I mean, if you don't have a hat with a brim, you can't write.
That's the great. Yeah, I was going to say, and the sunglasses too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I go all in. I'm all in.
All right. Really quick. Okay. Tell us. I know all about this book, so I don't want to talk about it. You talk about Moonlighting and Oral History. Give us the lowdown really quick.
So I was able to interview Sybil Shepherd, Glenn Gordon Caron, and all the writers, directors, and this basically tells the story of Moonlighting from conception to the cancellation in the words of the people who created the series. And it's really, I'm getting emails every day from people who are loving it, and that is the fun part of working on a book for 2 years, is that it's out there and people like it.
Oh, yeah, the reviews they're rave reviews. You're tapping into that nostalgia. People remember the show. They remember.
Love it.
Yeah. So are you ready to read for us?
Everything about it.
So I'm actually not going to read from Moonlighting because you can't do that in 3 minutes. You'll get Moonlighting. I'm going to read from my first book, which is called Scott Luck Stories, and it's available for a whole 99 cents as an ebook on Amazon. So it's really set you back. It'll set you back. I hate even to give this story away for free for that.
It's a bargain.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to jump out, and it's all you, Scott.
All right. So the name of this story is The Meg Ryan Joke. I was hired to be a customer service rep at a call center, and my job was to answer phones, and people would tell numbers in my ear, and I would type numbers into the computer. And for that, they said we needed 6 weeks of training. I thought this seemed ridiculous, but then I met the rest of the class, and maybe 6 weeks is just the right amount. And so then the guy behind me was a class clown. I am a class comedian. The difference being the class clown interrupts. Class comedian waits to be called on, might say something funny, but is not there to disrupt. The class clown told 3 jokes every day. Now, I'm not saying he just told 3 jokes. They were the same 3 jokes every day. I still remember them. Joke number 1, I'm so poor, I can't afford the O and the R. I don't know how that's a joke, but he said it every day. Joke number 2, he would sing the Jeopardy theme. Example, teacher calls on the student, student's thinking about the answer. Class clown goes, do, 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 do. Now, what was offensive to me about this was that the class laughed every day. Joke number 3. Teacher calls on student, gives the numbers. Student says, what was that last number? Class clown repeats the numbers in German. So he says 9 and 8 and 6 and 9. Same 3 jokes every day. So one day the teacher calls on me. And when this happens, you pretend it's a call and you play act. So I say, thank you for calling McGraw-Hill. This is Scott. How can I help you? She says, I'm here to place a book order. I said, what's your name? She says, my name's Meg Ryan. I say, oh, I'll have what you're having. Now, this gets a laugh in the class. Is it the best joke ever? No, but I was quick. I didn't know she was going to say Meg Ryan. So you get some bonus points for being quick. Class clown. He's not ready to let this go. He is dying laughing. Just can't stop. He's like, oh my God, she said she was Meg Ryan and you said, I'll have what she's having. That's what Meg Ryan says in When Harry Met Sally. Now, why is he telling me the joke? I made the joke. I know. And number one, Meg Ryan doesn't say that line. Someone says that about Meg Ryan, but whatever. I go on with my call. When we're hanging up, I kind of want to do a Sleepless in Seattle joke, but I don't because we got to just move on. It's break time. I'm in the break room getting some coffee. He comes up to me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. She called on you and she said her name was Meg Ryan. And then you said, I'll have what she's having because that's one from When Harry Met Sally. Oh my God, that was so funny. I'm like, all right, I guess we're bonding here. Next day, I come into work. Oh, here comes Meg Ryan. Here comes Meg. Oh, I hope she calls on you today. And then she says she's Meg Ryan. And then you can say, I'll have what she's. Is this going to be like this for 6 weeks? Because I got news for you. I may say something funnier. I've said something funnier than I'll have what she's having. And this is going to be my life? I mean, what is with this guy? Why can he not get past this? And then I thought about it. I know what the problem was. His whole life. He thought there were only 3 jokes, and he just found out there's 4. And there we have the Meg Ryan joke from Scott Luck's story.
I love it. So funny. That is great.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know you couldn't hear or get the audience response, but because I'm driving the bus down here, I can see everybody on StreamYard and everybody's laughing. So
Good. That is what Scott Luck Stories is all about. There are 20 short stories that are all true from my life as a stay-at-home dad, a corporate worker, and a teenager running the Arby's drive-thru. It's all in there. It's just the stories that follow me through life.
I love it. And I love that you're sharing it with the world because it needs to be told.
Yes. And comedy is very important to me. And that's what a lot of the book is about, that feeling of making strangers laugh, which is what I like to do.
Oh, I love it.
You do such an excellent job of that.
Well, I mean, that's, you wear this hat, it's bound to happen.
Oh my goodness.
Amazing. Okay, Scott, can you tell people where they can find you, find your books?
Yes, ScottRyanProductions.com or Fayetteville Mafia Press, and go out and get Moonlighting. It's doing well, but I could use more 5-star reviews on Amazon, and they always help. So by all means.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Scott.
It was fun.
Bye, Scott. Thank you. Oh, I got it. Hang on. There. I got rid of him.
I love that. That was so funny.
He's hilarious, isn't he?
Yes.
Oh my God. Scott Luck Stories.
He's someone you have to invite over for dinner so you can have a fun dinner, That
way you don't have to pay for a movie. You have the entertainment.
Exactly.
Sitting across from you. You just have to feed the entertainment.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
All right. I think we're going to go on to T.L. Beckett. LaFern, would you like to I think we're out of order, but would you like to introduce TL?
I would love to introduce TL. TL Beckett is a criminal defense attorney in Oakland, and he turned to a writer. Thank you so much. And Good Lookin is his new debut novel, and it weaves his expertise from the courtroom into the pages of a thrilling mystery, and I can't wait to read it. Welcome, TL.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent.
Thanks for being here.
All right. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to read for us today.
Okay. I'm having second thoughts following Scott because I chose to read a sort of a humorous part of my book. Tough act to follow. But in a side plot in this murder mystery, Joe is set up with a woman named Edna. They meet at a coffee shop, and Joe, mainly because of Edna's name, doesn't think that she'll be much in the looks department. Turns out she's a knockout. So this is their first meeting.
Oh, awesome. Okay, TL, take it away.
You must be Joe. I'm Eddie Bouger, she said, removing dark cat-eye sunglasses to reveal pale blue eyes. Her cute upper lip peaked in the middle, showing perfect teeth. I'm certain my eyes were wide, my mouth agape. I had entered the coffee shop a nervous wreck, arriving 20 minutes early. I'd seen the tall blonde walk in, but dismissed the possibility that she was Eddie. I didn't date women like this. Hell, movie stars didn't date women like this. She wore skinny jeans and knee-high boots that showed off long athletic legs. Some sort of cashmere poncho thing showed off her breasts, suspiciously ample given her slender waist. I hoped I'd chosen the blue Oxford without the mustard stains. Hi, Eddie, nice to meet you. I see you have coffee. I'll go get some, she said. My focus remained glued to the jeans as she walked away. Good God, I thought. Time to recover. I wanted to murder Andy for significantly underselling Eddie. Then again, I don't know what I would have done differently. I was a solid 7 and she was a frickin' runway model. Okay, Joe, breathe. What was that persona I'd read women were attracted to? Mild indifference? Yeah, good luck with that, Turner. Why I stood when she arrived back at our table, I'll never know. My parents had burned outdated and overly formal manners into my brain as a child, but I hadn't done it in years. Wow, what a gentleman, she said, her pink shiny lips forming a wide smile. I have no idea what I'm doing, I said, smiling at myself. Suddenly I'm having high tea with the royals. No, it's very nice, she said, laughing, and nobody knows what to do in these situations. I agree. Let the awkwardness begin, I said, feeling better about myself. So, she said, clasping her hands in front of her, it's probably appropriate for me to ask about your work, she said, rolling her eyes. So, she continued with theatrical feigned interest, Joe Turner, please tell me about your work. Actually, I deadpanned. Right now, I'm sort of between jobs. I smiled only after a few seconds of awkward silence. Darn you, she laughed. You got me. That was actually quite good. This was actually going incredibly well. Her unattainable beauty had somehow relaxed me. I had nothing to lose. And by the way, I thought, psyching myself up, my mom says I have rakish good looks. As you know, Eddie, I'm a lawyer. Yes, Karen mentioned that. Criminal defense, right? She asked. Yes, and you? I'm a shepherd, she said with a straight face. And that's when I knew. Apart from her breathtaking beauty, it was then that I knew that Edna Christine Bouger was the woman for me. Your job must be fascinating. How honest do you think your clients are about your crimes I put in? Yes, I was going to say activities. It was a good question. Oftentimes not very, but I've gotten pretty good at telling when they're lying. At least I think so. The next hour flew by. We chatted comfortably, making each other laugh. I gradually grew less self-conscious about the gap in our attractiveness delta. I learned that she was an archaeologist. I knew nothing about it, but it seemed like the coolest job ever. As if I wasn't smitten enough, I thought I detected a British tone in her speech. Not an accent, but more the way she emphasized words in a sentence. And even when I made boat-handed comments, she laughed them off and made me feel okay. An archaeologist, wow, like digging, I heard my inner idiot say, cringing. But we both started laughing immediately at the stupidity of the comment, and Eddie pulled out a fake notebook, mouthing, knows it involves digging, check. When it was time to go, I desperately wanted to ask to see her again. I thought she was even pausing, hoping I'd mention it. Well, Joe, see if you can tell if I'm lying. Okay, I'll give it a shot. I'd like to see you again. Well, Eddie, we just met, but so far you don't strike me as evil or sadistic. Well, thank you. So I'd be delighted to see you again, I said, failing to rein in my goofy smile. Good, she said. I really had fun. Talk soon. Me too. I walked home on cloud 9, reliving every line of our conversation and making an immediate plan to get in shape.
Very intriguing.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love how you kind of use a little bit of misdirection there, don't you? You kind of like lead us to believe one thing, and then it's actually another thing.
Yeah, that was the plan. I'm not sure if I probably should have read part of the actual mystery, but I thought that would be a change of pace.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. Why don't you? Because yes, you're this criminal defense attorney from Oakland, California. So you've probably seen some pretty heady things.
Yeah.
Turned writer. Tell us about that. How's that feel, TL?
It's cool. I mean, I've always liked to write, but you know, the law doesn't provide much of an outlet for creative writing. There's lots of writing, but you know, creativity is frowned upon. The law is the law, after all. So the only, if I had a problem, it's probably been that you know, the truth in the courtroom is oftentimes stranger than fiction, and so I can't necessarily put anything in a book because, you know, no one would believe it. But yeah, I certainly have a backlog of stories that I can hopefully turn into good mysteries.
Oh, I love that. And what a way to bring out your passion with writing and bring in the creativity in your life.
Right.
Well, thank you for being here today. Good Lookin by TL Beckett. And you're part of our contest too. I don't know if you caught that, but we're doing a page count contest with your book and with Debbie's book, Tears of Change. So what people can do is guess the page numbers. Don't say anything, TL.
Okay, I won't.
Give it away. And they can email their answers to bbbbcontest@gmail.com. And we're giving away 2 big bundles of books for them. So that'll be fun.
Great. Thanks for having me today.
You bet. You bet. Thank you, TL. Have a great rest of your weekend, okay?
All right, you too.
Woo! Okay. Next up, LaFern. We're going to pull in Gerald Everett Jones.
Tell me about Gerald.
I will tell you all about Gerald. Gerald is a multi-award-winning author. This guy is so prolific. He's written everything from nonfiction to fiction, literary fiction. He's compared to many literary giants such as Roth and Vonnegut, and he's releasing his next book very, very soon. I'm one of those people that gets what's called an advanced reading copy in art. It's called Harambee's Kenyan Sundowner. Hi, Gerald. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Desiree, and hello, LaFern.
Hello. It's a pleasure to have you. How exciting.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here on the beach. My beach actually, in reality, is solid green, but truth in advertising.
Well, it looks a little bit festive back there, like you've got a nice patio and sunshine. Or
well, I'm going to actually the portion that I'm going to read is set on the beach, on the shores of the Indian Ocean in Kenya, where I lived for 2 years. So
wow.
I actually hadn't thought about that as coinciding with the theme, but darn, it does.
You nailed it. You nailed it. All right, Gerald. We'll leave it to you. Go ahead and set up your book and start your reading. And LaFern and I are going to pop out of here.
Okay. Well, this story does tell itself. I mean, I don't know that it needs a lot of introduction. This is the very beginning of the book. And as I said, I lived in Kenya for 2 years with my wife, who was doing wildlife conservation work and child welfare. And the main character is not terribly different from me. I think I'm a little handsomer, but well, we'll see. And so these are kind of things that happen to me, but fictionalized, names changed to protect the guilty, something like that. As Harry sat in the bar in the Tiki Lounge in Diani Beach, just a short walk from the white sand, he wondered whether he'd been betrayed. Aldo was supposed to meet him here, and the fellow was more than an hour overdue. Granted that appointments in Kenya are more good intentions than hard deadlines, Aldo's client expected to get what he'd paid for. The trip package had been prepaid, as was customary, and so far all the bookings had been solid and the accommodations sumptuous. Harry doubted whether Aldo had absconded with any funds, but this was wary Harry's first venture offshore in a lifetime, and part of the deal was supposed to be that Aldo would offer his companionship and watchful guidance. Harry would later learn that Aldo was in Mombasa, meeting with an attorney, David Odiengo. Since Esther was in Mombasa as well, did they meet? Were they somehow working together? On what and for whom? These became questions that nagged at him. Esther, a local hottie, was an eligible widow who might be in her 30s, perhaps 40, and seemed to be captivated by Harry's charm, if not his looks. She would be too old for the younger men of this resort town, unless she was rich, which she apparently wasn't. But Harry was no prize when it came to physique. His body was thick-set and pudgy, and he was losing his hair. He liked to think he had heart. He didn't think himself wealthy either, but people here assumed he was. She'd taken to teasing him with the nickname Harambee. Neither had told him what it meant, literally. Aldo had hinted it was complimentary, but now both of them liked to taunt him with it, usually accompanied by wide grins and chuckles. And Harry's affable round face was now familiar enough around this little town that others were catching on too, and they seemed just as amused. Good-naturedly, he hoped. It wasn't until he was studying a banknote in this solitary moment at the bar when he saw Harambee emblazoned on the banner of the Kenyan coat of arms, just beneath two lions rampant guarding a tribal shield. Harry pulled out his phone and searched online for the definition, discovering that the national motto in Kiswahili means "we pull together," or simply unison. Harry still didn't make the connection. He was aware that people on the street were likely to greet him as Papa, a respectful term for an older gentleman of any race, or Mzungu, meaning white man, or, if uttered with extra emphasis, meaning crazy or clueless or worse, white man. Harry Harambee would discover that, to some of his new friends, he would be one of the boys, or one of our boys, or one of my boys who has our money, which is to say, one for all and all for one, or, he feared, you for us and all you have for all of us. Unity.
I love
Very
it.
Nice. Very
I love
nice.
He gets way more than he bargained for.
They
Yes.
always do.
Well, the fundamental question of the book is, and this is one thing that you find going to Kenya, the cultural differences. Kenyans love to play each other, game each other, and they remain friends, even with whatever dirty tricks they happen to have come up with. Harry begins to feel that he may be being played, especially as someone who's assumed to have money. And the question is, at this point in his life, he's a lonely widower. He had no life back home. He was kind of like running out the clock and waiting to die. And it's like, the question is, do I care? I'm having a good time.
But in the end, Harry has such a great story. I don't want to give anything away.
Oh, no spoilers. No
spoilers at all. But what I love, Gerald, is the way that you bring in, the culture and the times of Africa. And you kind of frame a lot of this in a narrative in fiction, but so much of what you write about is authentic.
Well, one of the reviewers was a fairly prominent editorial writer in Nairobi, and Harry does go from passivity to commitment. Commitment comes somewhat later, and it is really quite serious. And this reviewer expressed the opinion. He said, well, the national elections are coming up, And Kenyans might actually be inspired by Harry's example to not be so passive and not just let things happen to them. And I thought, wow, I really never anticipated that. I did expect that I might be helping Americans or Europeans understand Kenyans better, but I never really expected that Kenyans might be inspired by anything that a white man would come up with, because, white people going to Africa to fix Africa is kind of an old, that's so yesterday.
Yes, indeed. But I love how you're able to do that, but also, in writing books, in sharing one story, you never know what your influence will have. You never know how you can change someone's life.
Oh, and I really think that's true. And I think, among our writers groups and our conversations with each other, we're all emphasizing book sales and, your platform and your following and whatever. But I mean, if you only ever sold 100 books in your life, 100 years from now, if one of those lives was fundamentally changed, and it could well be, you'll never know. You'll absolutely never know.
Oh, that's beautiful. You kind of got me in the feels there, Gerald. That's why we write, right?
Well, the future of the Kenyan election, I would like to go back. I would like to go back, but maybe they won't let me. Who knows?
Right. All right. Gerald Everett Jones, your book is coming out on June 29th, right?
Exactly right.
Awesome.
2 weeks from Tuesday.
Woo! So soon. People can pre-order it now. And can you tell people where to find the book, find you online? Give us your details.
My blog website, other appurtenances to myself are at GeraldEverettJones.com. And actually, if you go there and you scroll down the page, you can find a free copy of another book, Preacher Finds a Corpse, which is a mystery that won some awards. So free book, mailing list, and then also, you can find out plenty about Harry there as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people online are saying your cover is very powerful.
People are talking about the cover.
Yes, on the copyright page, we had to put a disclaimer that this is not a picture of of Esther.
Okay.
The model did sign a release, but we want to be sure, and she's a fine woman. I mean, there's no, there's nothing disparaging about her in the book. I wouldn't think, but
yeah.
Yes, excellent.
Read the book and decide. I mean, I think she's kind of an interesting, a fascinating person, actually.
Fantastic.
Fictional,
We'll do
fictional. Not anybody,
totally
not anybody ever knew.
Gerald Everett Jones, thank you so much for being at the Beachbound Book Bash this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, LaFern and Desiree. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And LaFern, do you know who's next?
Oh my goodness, one of my friends from years and years ago, Flo Selfman. Oh, Flo's on mute.
Hey there.
Needs to unmute herself. Hi, Desiree, the little Fern. It's been ages. How are you?
Fantastic. I was so happy to see your name. I haven't talked to you for years.
Yeah, I was happy to see yours as well.
And I'm just a little bit taken aback because LaFern and I have been friends for 20 years. I've been friends with Flo for, I'm thinking about 5 years. I didn't know y'all knew each other. How did we not make that connection in the past?
Well, happy to
until right now.
COVID.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So Flo, or LaFern, since you're obviously better friends with Flo than I am, would you like to introduce her?
Yes. Flo is the most magnificent person you could ever meet. If you want someone on your team, she's the woman. She's an in-demand copy editor, a proofreader for award-winning books, and contributing author to the media Magnetism and Office for One. And she is currently working on a memoir.
Woo! What are you going to read for us today, Flo?
I'm going to read a story called Stop Thief.
All right.
All right.
We're going to let you to it. Take it away.
I bet I'm the only person you know who stole a bra from Fredericks of Hollywood. I didn't plan to, but I thought it would be neat to go in and try on some stuff. I took a handful of bras into the fitting room. One I especially fell in love with, sheer with a delicate underwire. I had to have it. I got dressed and took it to the counter. I waited for many minutes and no clerk appeared. So I went back into the dressing room, put the bra on under my sweater and exited the room. Still no one. Looking casual, I thought, I calmly walked through the store and out the door, turned right, and started up Hollywood Boulevard. Stopped at an alley, expecting at any second for a hand to clamp down on my shoulder as a masculine voice said, "Well, young lady, what do you think you're doing?" I crossed the alley, and that's when I knew I had done it. Lest you think this led me into a life of crime, the first thing I did was even simpler. As my dad and I walked out of the old Vaughn's Market on Montana, I reached into my pocket and extracted a pack of lifesavers. "Look," I said to him and held out my hand. I took these. A brief look of shock passed over his handsome face. "Why?" he asked. "To see if I could." He just looked at me. I went inside and, red-faced, put them back on the shelf. You might think I was 8 years old when this occurred, but I was a decade older. I should have known better. Not so much about stealing a pack of lifesavers, but about slyly bragging to my father, the most moral of men. I'm sure he never even pulled the wings off a fly as a kid. So what made me do it? I had inspiration. While I helped him in his little restaurant, I was also in college. Jamie and Jill, the twins across the hall in my dorm, grabbed me one Sunday afternoon to visit some friends, juniors who lived off campus. Lynette ushered us in and introduced me to Ruthie. We all drank beer and munched chips and pretzels from pretty wooden bowls. We dished about our classes and guys and whether UCLA would beat USC this time. "So, do you want to see our new stuff?" Lynette asked. "Oh, yeah," J&J said in unison. "What stuff?" I asked. "You'll see," Jill said with a knowing smile. Lynette said, "We'll model for you," and walked to the front closet. She reached inside and withdrew a beautiful gray wool coat with a big fluffy raccoon collar. It was the latest style. I loved it. She handed it to Ruthie, who slipped it on, fluffing the collar and rubbing it against her face. We three visitors oohed and awed. Then Lynette pulled out two more of the same coat, but in rust and Loden green. The girls twirled around the living room in them. "These coats are gorgeous," I said. "Where are they from?" "May Company on Wilshire," said Ruthie. "Have you been there? It's the one on the corner with the big gold mosaic." "Not yet," I said. Knowing looks passed between the two young women. "What?" I said, looking from one to the other. "You don't know, do you?" said Lynette. "We stole them." And they all laughed with delight, clinking their beer glasses. Ruthie went into the bedroom and returned, arms laden with slacks on hangers, sweaters, and two chic leather purses. My eyes were wide. "You mean you stole all this stuff? Seriously?" It was my first autumn in Southern California. "Does it even get cold enough to wear coats like this out here?" "Oh, yes, it sure does," said Ruthie. Lynette hung up the gray coat, seated herself on a rattan chair, and looked at me. "Listen up, young lady," she said. "You might learn something." Giggles all around. "First, the slacks," she said, and gave me a point-by-point primer on how to make off with them. She repeated the procedure with variations for purses, sweaters, and the pièce de résistance, the raccoon-collared coats. My head was spinning. I took a cigarette out of my purse and started fishing for a match. Lynette reached for a lighter on the table and leaned over. Our eyes met. "Not this too," I said. It was an elongated, slender, pink cat about a foot high with a lighter embedded into the top. "I was in Blum's," she said, "having an ice cream at the counter, and as I was about to leave, there it was on a shelf. I picked it up to look at it and, well, just kept walking. If you act like it's yours, no one pays any attention," she said with a smile as she placed the lighter back on the table. The Wilshire bus took me right to May Company. I walked inside, headed straight for the coat section. They all looked beautiful on me, but the Loden green really spoke to me. "Come on, you can do it." I really want to go home with you. I'll caress your face with my raccoon collar and keep you warm when the temp dips next month. Come on, please, please. I picked it up and walked into the dressing room. The end.
The things I'm finding out about Flo Selfman today.
Oh, that's thing out about me is that I have a good memory.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. So, Flo, that's part of your memoir, right? That's going to be. Yeah,
could be.
I hope so.
Actually, what I might. I've got about 3 books going. So one is my San Francisco stories, and one might be just a collection of stories, which is what this is looking like. And then one that I'll probably never publish called Around the World in 80 Men.
Whoa!
It's a comedy.
We are learning about Flo. OMG. All right. Excellent. Okay, Flo, can you really quickly give us your website? Tell people where they can find you online.
You can find me at wordsalamode.com, which is in a slight state of disrepair right now, but we're getting to it. Wordsalamode.com. I'm also on Facebook. And so I look forward to hearing from anybody there.
Wonderful. Wonderful
Fabulous.
seeing you again. Thanks, Flo.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, we've got Laura Tohe coming up next. LaFern, do you want to tell us about Laura?
Laura is amazing. She's a poet, a writer. She's a scholar of Indigenous American literature, a Navajo Nation poet laureate, and her work was published in multiple languages. And this includes Code Talker's Story, an oral history book with remaining Navajo code talkers. Did I say that right? Wow.
Yes, you did.
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Are you hiding from us? Are you having some camera issues?
Let me see
If you go on the bottom, there you go. There's your beautiful, and you've got this gorgeous hat on. Of course we have to see that. Hi.
Here it is. Yeah. I've been wanting to go to the beach, and this is the only way I can virtually be there.
Well, I hope it satisfies you because, it's as close as we can get right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Thank you for being here. Tell us about what you're going to read today.
Well, I write poetry and librettos, and I've also done other writing as well. And I've been working on poems about water. And my last name actually has to do with water. So I'm going to read a prose poem, which is a little bit long, but I think it should fit in with my time limit. So.
Fabulous. Take it away, Laura.
Okay. And this is a poem that I'm still working on. I'm not really satisfied with it, but I was glad to hear you say earlier that if it's a draft or you're working on something, that's okay. So here goes. It's called The Windmill. And there's some Navajo words in there, but I will translate them. And there's my grandmother in here. We call her Nala, which means paternal grandmother. The Windmill. Nala said we should go early, before the men came to fill their water barrels. The 3 of us stuffed pillowcases with dirty laundry, a couple of metal pails filled with soap flakes, a bar of soap, shampoo, and a washboard, and walked 3 miles to the windmill. Late summer rains had poured from female clouds that left puddles and ponds upon the thirsty earth, and curls of delicate dried mud cracks like a jigsaw puzzle that crumbled in our hands whenever we tried to move a piece, no matter how carefully we lifted them, like they were only meant for admiration, not meant to be disturbed, not to be touched by hand or foot. We followed the path into and out of the sandy wash that led towards the windmill. Rabbit brush and the ubiquitous tumbleweeds roamed wild, and still fiercely seaweed green grew their yearly bundle of sharp points that stabbed at our bare legs when we got close. They spread themselves thickly over Halkei, this place called whiteness all around. A place without much color that allowed a few trees to give skinny shade. From a distance, the windmill stood like a beacon, the wind as percussionists spun a dissonant tune with the metal blades, bringing the scent of water to the surface that beckoned the four-leggeds to the performance at the water trough, and us lugging our laundry. Because Nulla had no electricity in her home and no indoor water from underground pipes that miraculously spouted precious water with a flick of the wrist into her home, into her hogan. We had to perform our ablutions in public at the windmill, which was to be done as modestly as possible. Old Man Plumber, the self-appointed marshal of the community water, watched from his windows, house and pickup truck. He kept a pointed eye out for anything fishy, for any violators who dared to play with the water, interlopers who would let the water run through their fingers without destination. Precious water flowing in the direction of anarchy was to be arrested. Perpetrators must be stopped in their tracks. Water is God here. Then from the dirt road came a rumbling, bringing Old Man Plumber. He reined in his battered pickup truck and rolled down the window. It flashed in the silver light, and he poked his head out. Hey! Hey! This water is not for playing in, he shouts at us. We stopped our washing and turned to his voice. My cousin and I let the water run freely through our hair. Our laundry rubbed a rebel tune against the washboard that created streams of water conspiring with soap to make bubbles and flowed in every direction beneath our bare feet. We were insurgents of the water. It all went against Old Man Plumber's grain. Nulla, patient and not one to acquiesce so easily, was our protector, our grandma's shield. She let him go on before she rebuked him. This water doesn't belong to you, she paused before adding. We came to do our laundry, that's why we're here. Part declaration, part appeasement, because he is her clan brother, and as our elder relative must be given respect. Old Man Plumber scanned our clothing fluttering in the breeze on the sagging fence line, a composition of laundry, Nulla's three-tiered skirts, and her flower-print blouses danced partnerless in the wind. Her boxer shorts fluttered freely with the breeze. Our panties and bras waved, hello. He took it all in. He may have been the self-appointed officer of water, but Nulla's repudiation was not to be challenged either, because women's words can be stones or clouds. He kicked his truck into gear and turned around and left a cloud of dust billowing behind him, leaving us to our rebel work at the windmill, where God is water, where water is God.
Fascinating. Wow, that's such beautiful imagery.
Thank you.
I love every word.
Yeah, you know, we're in a drought now here in Arizona, which is where I live. But up on the Navajo reservation, there's also a drought there. But when I was growing up with my grandmother, she didn't have a car. And so in order to wash our laundry or to wash our hair, we had to walk 3 miles to the water source. and do our laundry there. And then that one time when we were there, my grandfather, the old man plumber, came and pulled up in his truck, and he scolded us for using the water like we were just wasting it, but actually we were doing, our hair and our laundry and everything, and he just thought we were playing in the water.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I love the fact that you shared something that you're working on, a work in progress, and I think it's beautiful just the way it is. I don't think you have too much work to do on that, Laura.
Thank you.
You bet. Can you tell people really quick where they can find out more about you?
I have a website, and unfortunately, it's dreadfully kind of out of date. But if you go to lauratohe.com, you can see my website there with some of the books that I've done and a little bit about me.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate you being here. And just so everybody knows, we do have Bree and Tiana and AG and people behind the scenes that are helping out, and they're putting the links for everything in some of the chats on Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. So people will be able to find that there. Next up is Gabrielle. And Gabrielle Alexa Noel, I should say, is a bisexual creator, a columnist, a software developer, many talents here, and author of How to Live with the Internet and Not Let It Ruin Your Life. Oh my goodness, yes. Her content is sex positive and positively highlights marginalized communities. Hello, Gabrielle.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's
Thanks for being here.
Very exciting. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be reading from the relationships and sexuality part of my book about the internet, since that's what so much of my content is. It's nonfiction, so it's, I hope, educational.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to it. All right. Take it away.
Thank you. Okay. Throughout history, female sexuality was so scary to society that it was linked to inferior intellect and medical diagnoses like hysteria and nymphomania. Normal functioning sexuality in women was something to cure or punish, and sometimes led to imprisonment in insane asylums and Magdalene laundries. In many cultures, female genital mutilation also became a cultural norm. Enthusiastic female sexuality was stigmatized so much some women were even led to acts of harm against themselves. Unfortunately, they're not alone. LGBTQ+ folks have had similar cultural experiences. In recent history, they've been punished for romantic and sexual behaviors that diverge from gendered cultural norms via imprisonment and pathology. The media we consume, however, has always had a significant impact on our sexual culture. At the end of the 19th century, the way women were represented in art and literature began to change. Women who had agency and didn't suffer disastrous consequences were finally being depicted. In the 1950s, an American biologist named Alfred Kinsey began studying taboo sexual topics like premarital sex, female pleasure, and sex between LGBTQ+ folks. As new media formats like magazines, movies, and television became popular, other researchers published their own findings. The feminist movement and the passage of Roe v. Wade pushed forward ideas that women should control their own bodies. Meanwhile, the gay rights movement, followed by the LGBT rights movement, led to homosexuality being removed as a mental illness and eventually to legislative changes that made it more acceptable to be LGBTQ+. By the time the internet made it on the scene, we were already experiencing a global sexual revolution. The rise of social media, video sharing, and free educational content has completely altered the politics and dominant ideologies of our sexual culture. Even as some media forms continue to reinforce old-fashioned ideas about sexuality, the internet has allowed marginalized folks to take control of their own narratives and push forward a new culture of understanding and openness. Despite this, there are still inconsistencies in our sexual morality. There is a persistent view of sex as something sinful and corruptive, made apparent by our continued debates around abortion, birth control, abstinence-only sex education, and sexual violence. And so, social media functions as both a battleground for our sexual politics and as an environment that brokers our individual sexualities. These platforms can strengthen ideas around the rigidness of sexual orientation by encouraging us to display our orientation labels and to organize ourselves around them. but they also make it more acceptable to identify as someone who isn't heterosexual. They essentialize gender by encouraging us to sort ourselves into gender categories online, but they also allow us to break from gender norms by providing options beyond just male and female. Plus, the parasocial relationships and new communities we form on these platforms introduce us to non-traditional ways of being and relating. Sex-positive influencers have grown in popularity over the years for using their social platforms to subvert traditional ideas of sex and sexuality. And sex toy companies like Unbound, Bellesa, and Sweet Vibes are contributing to that work as well. People are literally learning more about their own bodies and sexual health on Instagram than they do in public school. Meanwhile, online communities allow us to connect with others and get comprehensive sex education in a culture that is still, for some reason, pushing abstinence-only narratives. Erotics, a multi-country research project conducted by the Association for Progressive Communications, examined how marginalized sections of society use the internet to exercise their sexual rights. They found that most respondents are using the internet, particularly social media, to share information quickly or to search for information that is difficult to find offline. In Mumbai, they found that women are using the internet to explore, define, and challenge boundaries of gender and sexual norms. In South Africa, LGBTQ+ folks are using it to construct and perform identities. In Lebanon, a LGBTQ+ movement had developed as their relationship to the internet did. And yet, social platforms have pushed back against these uses. Sex-positive accounts often see their content deprioritized or deleted by each platform's unique algorithms. Sometimes their accounts are even shut down, and this disproportionately happens to LGBTQ+ folks and people who appear feminine, reproducing the same beliefs that those forms of sexuality should be hidden and shamed. This censorship is justified by arguments that children will be exposed to internet pedophiles, harmful sexual content, and pornography. But these so-called protections limit freedom of expression, access to information, diverse viewpoints, and support networks. Whether or not social platforms should have this much control over content moderation is another conversation. Regardless, as we increasingly view the internet as a political space, we have to advocate for online sexual rights as an extension of our advocacy against gender-based violence. And then I close the chapter with 4 tips for navigating the online sexual revolution. 1, not wanting to see sex-positive content on your social feeds is perfectly normal. We all get to set boundaries for the type of content we want to consume. But number 2, if following sex-positive accounts or sex educators is your thing, you can show your support by liking, commenting, saving, or sharing those posts. This helps combat the deprioritization of their content on other people's feeds. 3, understand that content moderation policies in practice do not always protect users. Often they operate as forms of discipline based on what our society perceives to be normative sexuality. And finally, 4, avoid prescribing boundaries for others based on your own sexual morality. We all have different relationships to social media and to sexuality, but it's not on us to regulate that for our peers.
Woo!
Right on.
Oh my goodness. First of all, I didn't know that the internet was helping. You know, you hear so many negative things of it's tearing apart, you know, and that's an amazing fact to hear.
100%. I think it's about setting boundaries with ourselves and in our communities about how we engage with those things, but not necessarily just saying they're all bad and we should, eliminate them.
Right. And then the second part to that is your 5 things at the end was brilliant, because it's like you're not forcing anything, or nobody's forcing anything on you. If you want it, that's great. If you don't, that's fine. That's your choice too. But it's an option.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. I feel like some people expect it to mean like, if I want to support sex positive content, that means my kids are going to see it or I have to see it. And it's just about like not enforcing those boundaries on others.
Exactly. Oh, Gabrielle, can you tell people where they can find out more about you online? Give out your website.
Of course. My website is GabrielleAlexa.com. My email is gabby@GabrielleAlexa.com. And on all social platforms, I am at GabAlexa, GABALEXA.
Fabulous. Gabrielle, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And our next author has the easiest to pronounce book in the entire Beachbound Book Bash.
Yes.
Therefore, I'm going to let LaFern introduce Stephen Joseph because I want to hear her pronounce the names of his books.
Stephen Joseph is an attorney, negotiator, speaker, award-winning author of The Last Surviving Dinosaur, The Taranto Crankosaurus, and the Crankasaurus Method, a grown-up guide to effective crankiness. Love it. Did I say that right, Stephen?
Pretty good. Yes, yes.
Great. I did it.
Fabulous job. Yeah, you did it. You surprised me. Okay, I thought I was going to get you on that one, but you rocked it out.
I was practicing.
Okay, Stephen, tell us what you got going on.
Well, I was going through a lot. I was getting cranky because I was trying to find different things to read, and everything got too long. So I did find something that's within the time. I'd actually published an article yesterday in New York Litigator called Effective Litigation Management, Fighting Fire with Water, but I decided it's probably not a good idea to read that. People fall asleep. But I'm going to be reading Crankatsuris Traffic Tips. And for those people who don't know what surus is, it's the Yiddish word for problems. And when you have problems, you get cranky. So I put the two together and we get a Crankatsuris. So that's why you have the Crankatsuris method in my book, A Grown-Up Guide to Effective Crankiness. This is not in the book. It's on my blog, which I have tons of stuff on my blog. And it's all funny, but also educational. So that's what I'm reading today. Crankatsuris Traffic Tips.
All right, take it away.
Okay. Well, one situation that gets people all worked up and filled with Crankatsuris are those times when you get stuck in traffic. You are trapped and you have nowhere to go. You need to get somewhere really badly. It is the one time you could not afford to get stuck in traffic. You know it is bad when you even start to hope to see some terrible traffic accident that caused a terrible traffic jam. You think to yourself, it better be something really bad that caused me to sit here for 2 hours. Everybody has had the experience of sitting in a long traffic jam, and you finally get to the point where the traffic begins to move. You could then see the big nothing that delayed your trip for an hour. The most common big nothing is a car pulled over on the other side of the highway by a police car. It did not look very interesting when you passed it, but for everyone else, a car pulled over by the police car apparently was the most exciting event of the week. Apparently, they all had to stop to watch. Maybe there was one person who even got out of the car and took pictures. In total disbelief, you start to scream, "I was sitting in traffic for this? I cannot believe it." Since traffic Crankatsuris is a common form of the Crankatsuris, here are 3 tips to follow that will allow you to manage your traffic Crankatsuris with ease. The most important tip is that if you anticipate traffic, make sure you do not drink lots of liquids beforehand. You do not want to be sitting in traffic and then you are stuck and you have to pee really badly. The reason is this. Do you know what the only cure for have to pee really badly Crankatsuris is? It's called peeing. And relieving have to pee really badly Crankatsuris is the one of the 2 situations that every human on the planet, whether they believe in God or not, will say the same thing. Oh, thank God. The second most important tip is that if you anticipate traffic, is to make sure you do not load your car with little screaming children before you go out. You do not want to be stuck in traffic with screaming kids. This is the second situation that when you finally get home completely exhausted and the kids are finally deep in asleep, you again exhale and say to yourself, "Oh, thank God." The first 2 tips leads to the third tip, because if you follow tip 1 and tip 2, you can now say the following thing when you get stuck in traffic. At least I do not have to pee, and also, at least I do not have screaming kids in the car. So just sit back and enjoy. Even traffic Crankatsuris has a cure.
Oh my God, Stephen, you crack me up. I even just listening to your voice, you've got this way about you. I adore it. It's the best.
Well, thank you. It comes from my mom, who would she had this. I really take my mom's voice, but she had more thicker European accent. But it's really her. So when she would say things, she was very funny growing up as a kid. Even if she didn't mean to be funny, she was very funny.
I love it.
Yes, you're a funny man. I love your blog. I love your book. I love the fact that you've got the 2 books. So one's for children, and then we've got the Grown-Up Guide to Effective Crankiness, because you're all about letting people know that they can be effectively cranky, right?
Yes, it's because it's in our genetic code, because we all came from the Crankatsuris. That's how we evolved. Not from monkeys or apes or anything. It's from the dinosaur, the littlest dinosaur, but the most dangerous dinosaur on the planet. And it's in our genetic code. We come out cranky, so we need learn how to be effectively cranky. Very important.
I love it. Okay, where can people find you online, find your books, that kind of thing?
You can find myself online, and it's really entertaining. If you want to if you had a bad day and you want to turn your day into a good day, you go to my website and you go to my blog, stephenjosephauthor.com. And there's a lot of entertainment, and you could figure out you could find out which Crankatsuris you have, and you find the solutions. It's all there on my blog.
Love the solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Oops. Oh, I didn't mean to cut him off. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I'm literally touching this button, waiting, and I'm sorry, man.
Oh,
all right. Next up, we have Leah Guy, and she is the modern sage, is a new thought leader and an expert in emotional healing and personal development. She has authored 3 different books, and the last one being Overcoming Toxic Emotions, a practical guide to building better relationships with yourself and others. Hi, Leah. How you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. Should we show our books, or are people not doing that? Or
please do. Love it. Love it. Okay. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to read for us today.
I'm going to read just a little bit from the 2nd chapter of the book, Understanding Your Emotional Imprints. And the subtitle is Challenges in Healing.
Love it. I need it.
A little inspiration, hopefully.
Yes.
I didn't time it out for 3 minutes, though, so I'm going to have to keep looking at the clock and make sure.
Well, I think we're a little bit over time, in case anybody didn't notice. So we still have Clive Rose coming up after you. So just so everybody knows, we went over just a little bit, but we will be announcing the contest winner for the big giveaway at the very, very end. And people still have time to enter the word count contest by entering their guesses and emailing it to bbbbcontest@gmail.com. And I'm going to stop plugging the contest now, and Leah, let you just take it away.
Okay.
Go ahead, Leah.
It's human nature to live in packs, so lack of connection or complete isolation can have a detrimental effect on the psyche and physical and emotional health of an individual. One of the biggest challenges as we heal is to step outside the energy matrix of the family. Each system has its own energy and imprint, and to heal and grow means that we begin to operate perhaps differently, which may impact the way we feel in relation to the unit. In our self-growth journey, there is often a subliminal fear of abandoning old belief systems. If you're tied to certain belief systems within your family, such as limited abundance, self-insecurities, or shame and sexuality, it can be terrifying to feel like you're operating or that you're separating from them as you evolve and heal. Even though you are not physically leaving your family, when you begin to change mentally, emotionally, or energetically, this will be felt by the others, leading to an overall vibrational shift in the family unit. No matter how bad our feelings may be, there's an underlying fear that if we abandon those feelings, we will no longer have support from and connection with our loved ones. It makes creating new emotional imprints difficult. Your current imprints woven together create a comfort zone. A new imprint creates a different relationship pattern to those around you, but it should not sever the bond of love or affection. Another difficult aspect of healing is the urge to defend our parents or caregivers. The love you have for them is a bond that is stronger than most any wrongdoing. Although we do not want to blame them any longer, we also do not need to make excuses or justifications for their behavior. This only serves to keep the pain cycle activated, trapping in our shame, fear, or guilt. We can learn to accept our love for them while also acknowledging how we were hurt by their behavior or lack thereof. And while we are not blaming in our self-care journey, we also should not protect or defend others. That only diminishes the impact that was left on our psyches and emotional health. Only when we consciously employ a process of being open and honest about how others treated us can we make progress. It's common to get stuck trying to unravel the why behind their actions or the good intentions that we believe existed. Let's stop making excuses for not getting the nurturing that we needed and move toward acceptance of that fact. It doesn't make your parents bad people. For this healing work, I suggest keeping the focus on you. Acknowledge the shame, the guilt, or fear that you've experienced. Accept those feelings as real, even if someone did the best they could, and apply new action to heal the pains that suffocate you. Remember, if our focus is on the other, we relinquish our power to them. It's time to bring the focus back to self. Apply the knowledge that you now have and accept the weight of your burdens. Although you may partially realize that your childhood affected your adulthood, it's important to understand its long-term ramifications. If you had negative childhood experiences, you may feel isolated in your current situation or not good enough to be in a loving relationship. You may be on edge and unsure what to expect day to day while keeping people at arm's length so they don't get too close to you. You may not know what non-toxic, consistent intimacy is. How could you if you didn't experience it? The longing for attention and closeness is there, but you may be caught in the energetic web of a negative imprint that keeps you from having a healthier experience. And like most patterns, we repeatedly find ourselves reverting back to the same negative experiences. Why? Because we become addicted to pain. Is that the time?
Very well said. Your book is brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we all get in that wedge of we're used to the pain and we keep going in that pain because that's what we know.
Exactly. Yep. And the rest of that chapter focuses on how to release our addiction to the pain and raise our vibration and create a new imprint for ourselves.
That's right, because it's all about that vibration. It really is. It's just something. It's like if we tune in, it really makes a difference.
It does. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, Leah, thank you. Can you tell everybody where they can find out more about you, find your books?
Sure. My website, leahguy.com, LEAHGUY.com, or on social media, Leah Guy Live. That's on Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, and YouTube, Insight Timer, all the places. Yeah.
I love it.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right, LaFern. Okay. We've gone just a little bit over. We are going to announce the grand prize winner. And I just want to remind people, since we're a little bit over, you still have time to email if you want to BBBB at BBBBcontest@gmail.com. Got to guess the page number for Tears of Change. That's kind of a short one. As well as Good Lookin. There's 2 prizes that we're giving away. We'll email you and let you know. And like I said, we will announce the grand prize winner right after we talk with Clive Rose. Clive is is it your turn to introduce?
No, go ahead. I think it's yours.
Is it my turn? We got a little miscombobulated. Clive is coming to us. I think she earns the honor of the farthest away from everybody else. She's in New South Wales, Australia, and she is an award-winning author of historical fiction and historical romance in the US and Australia both. And she believes that love is the highest and strongest force known in the world, and that it only manifests when we are our best and our truest selves. Hi, Clive. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon to you, and good morning if anyone's listening from my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like 8:30 for you, right? 8:35?
9:30 in the morning.
9:30
on a sunny Sunday morning in winter. So it's all opposite.
Yeah, you're just like, it's winter. Why are you doing a beach-bound book bash? This doesn't make sense.
I love the beach. Winter, summer, bring it on. I'm a big fan.
Excellent. So tell us about what you're going to read for us today.
I am reading a scene from my upcoming release. It's a novella. It's in a collection of 10 novellas. It's currently on pre-order on Amazon. The collection's called Secrets of the Soho Club. It's set in Regency, London, around one of the exclusive clubs that they used to have. But our club's a little different. It admits both men and women. And therefore, it is full of romance because 10 romance writers put this collection together.
Ooh,
okay. And I'm reading, I did a little Twitter poll. Did people want the banter? Did they want the action scene? Because it's a mystery as well. Or did they want the sexual tension? And the voting was overwhelmingly in favor of the sexual tension. So I do hope I don't blush while I read this.
All right, bring it on. LaFern.
Bring it.
Okay. So here
All
we
right,
go.
Take it away.
The Case of the Black Diamond, Part 1. The Soho Club, London, January 1820. Outside the Soho Club, dark clouds gathered in the afternoon sky. The air thickened, closely heavy in the prelude to a drenching. Claire shivered at the change in temperature, the tensing of mood. She sipped her coffee, watching Xander Lindsay, watching her. His gaze focused rather closely on the rim of her cup, specifically where the fine china met her lips. She sipped her brew again. If you're intent on seduction, you should know I am not my sister. His gaze lifted to her face, steady, focused, powerfully intent. I have never seduced your sister. I am no rake, Claire. His voice remained sure, strong, and deeply tempting. So it's a ruse, she guessed. He inclined his head, his resonating low in his throat like a throb. We can't all mask our clandestine activities with scent. His tone turned husky, intensity sharpening like a honed blade. I am not in the habit of short-term liaisons, Claire spoke carefully. I am not in the habit of being seduced either. There's a remedy for that, he said quietly, suggestively. Did his voice deepen further? As though he had heard her, Xander set down his cup. He walked slowly towards her, the way one might approach a rare and dangerous object. Tell me, Claire Ryan, are you armed? Why do you ask? Because I should like to kiss you. If I halt here, you may blade my heart open instead. He stopped halfway across the checkered floor, arms by his sides like a supplicant with warm brown eyes and a devastating dimple. Claire effected a study of the distance between them, lifted her head, locking her gaze to his. 3 steps back gives you a sporting chance, Xander Lindsay. Indeed. The resonance from his baritone rippled through her. Nevertheless, he held his ground, and Claire lifted a brow, gaze travelling brazenly over his planed face. He stared right back, smiling, offering that dimple where she lingered before studying the cleft in his chin, his corded neck muscles, those powerful shoulders of defined shape. Her gaze dropped lower, taking in his broad torso, narrow waist, and the shapely front of his trousers. She smiled then, wide and joyous, walking slowly towards him, slower than ever, as though she may never reach him, never touch him. Time stretched out, thinning, heating, bringing her closer to the heft of breath beneath flesh, her pulse beating faster with each step until her skin throbbed with the thought of his lips beneath hers, his surrender within her body. Something to savor, she murmured, watching his answering smile. His tongue darted out, licking his lips, and she let out a small laugh, not blinking at all, not missing a moment of Xander Lindsay standing before her, arms at his sides, gaze locked on hers with an impulse she felt in every nerve and muscle. Claire touched his cheek, stroking him gently before leaning forward, lips positioned inches from his. Reaching up, she slipped her other hand beneath his jacket, sliding her palm over his shirt, feeling his breath shorten, his weight shift, until she located his hidden jacket seam. Keeping her gaze on his, she extracted his pistol as smoothly as possible, stroking the barrel along firm muscle as she withdrew. She kept his barrel there, smoothing it lightly back and forth against his shirt, teasing him with danger, with steel, with her unbroken gaze. Is it cocked, my lord? And I'm stopping there.
Yes.
It's interesting because it's partly inspired by Moonlighting and Remington Steele, but in the Regency era, because they are solving a crime together.
Oh, I love that. I love that. We need to get you and Scott together, and maybe I'll send him a copy of your book, and likewise, a copy
That would be a
his.
lot of fun. It's the first for these characters. It's the first one in their series, so I'm a bit excited. Having a go at mystery and romance.
Yeah. Well, it's that snappy, it's that chemistry, it's that everything that just kind of makes that, that tension in that sexual relationship all worth it.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope so. The thing about a romance is there always has to be a happy ending. So every story in the series is going to have a couple, but it will start with them. So we'll see.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It comes out July 15 in the full collection.
Wonderful.
Excellent. And you've already got books out, so you're a very prolific writer. So why don't you tell everybody really quick how they can find out more about all of your books, and tell us a little bit too about some of your other writing as well.
Well, so far all my writing is historical fiction, all the published writing. Always a Princess was my debut novel that released last year. Lockdown had some silver lining. And then I released a novella called The Christmas Salon in November last year. And then there'll be 2 novellas in this series coming out this year, and possibly another full-length novel. And you can find out more on cliverose.com is my website. I'm also on Twitter, Clive Rose, and Instagram, Clive Rose, and Facebook, Clive Rose Author. I do have a presence on, I think, a couple of other platforms, but honestly, I can only do so much. So.
Well, you're doing it all, so congratulations.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much for being here, Clive.
My absolute pleasure. It's exciting to be a part of it. I love doing reading, and I love to hear from readers. I really do.
Oh, we had such a great lineup today, didn't we? A little bit of everything.
Yes, most definitely.
All right, Clive, we'll let you go. You have a wonderful day. Enjoy your morning there in Australia.
Thank you. I will. I'm off to get a coffee.
All right. I'm over here with my tea. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, I love that. That's what you need to read on the beach, LaFern, is that steamy romance, that hot tension.
Absolutely. I love it all.
I wanted to say another really great beach book is from Sarah Winokur. She couldn't be here today. She was supposed to be one of our readers. Her book is a Nordic thriller mystery double blind. It's actually set in Iceland. And so it's a little bit Girl with the Dragon Tattoo-ish with genetic researchers and old mysteries that come into play. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Sarah and her book Double Blind, because if you're hot on that summer beach, this is going to cool you off with a thrilling mystery. LaFern, thank you for being here. I had fun with you.
Yes, I miss you so much. This was such a thrill, and I thank you so much.
Oh, I thank you. I thank you. And before we wrap up, I'm going to announce the winner of the big bag of books. We got the Kate Spade tote and the mat, and there's sunglasses in there and towels, everything that you need for the beach, okay? And the winner, the grand prize winner, sorry, gotta look at this. Meyer Gent. How
about Meyer Gent?
That's probably it. Yeah. Pretty sure you got it.
I think I did. I nailed it.
The good news is that we will send you an email. Congratulations on your prize, and we will take care of mailing that and getting that out to you. Likewise, we will be emailing the winners of the page count contest as well. And you know what? We've got a good team in the background.
Oh, yes. Wonderful.
Bree Sweeter, she's going to be posting stuff on social media, so you'll always know. Don't forget, too, we always have bookish fun things that we're giving away on our website, booksthatmakeyou.com. Just go to the win page and you'll see prizes and books and things that we're giving away. And I also want to just give a shout out to Dave Duffy, as well as A.G. Billig and Tiana and Sadi and everybody on the team, you know, in the background that have been helping put this together, and the graphics and the social media.
Amazing team. I'm so proud of you, Des. And what? I am. It's amazing. Just looking at our past to where we are now is just amazing. We're doing it.
I know, right? I've known you for 20 years, and apparently you've known Flo Selfman.
Yes.
For 20 years too.
Yes.
I didn't know about that.
That's funny.
I had so much fun. Okay, I'm going to let everybody go. Thank you for joining us today. Join us on our website. Sign up for our newsletter. All of that fun stuff. It's booksthatmakeyou.com. Ciao all.
Ciao bello.
Ciao bella.